I just found this really refreshing. I thought the Rebel Dykes and the scene was just amazing. It was a massive F off.
So we are once again continuing the BFI Flare LGBTIQ+ Film Festival. Sean Vickers is once again here for Boys on Film. My name is Phil Marriott. Thank you for following us. If you have been doing that since day one, which seems like years ago, it was just a couple of weeks ago, we've crammed in so much over this time. It's been great though.
So much stuff.
Yeah.
I certainly feel more attuned,
bedraggled,
enlightened, bedraggled. Yeah, I feel many things. The majority are positive things.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting documentary. I mean, we've seen some amazing documentaries. We've both discussed this. Some of my favourite films that we've seen have been documentaries. I think it's been a really strong year for Flare this year for documentaries. And this is certainly one of them. And this is one film that I think a lot of people have waited a long time for, because it's taken quite a few years to come together. We've seen lots of previews in the past, kind of pre-production notes about this and little previews, and people have been getting really excited, particularly people that were part of that scene. And I've got to say that this sounds really weird, because this is obviously a film about dyke culture, but I saw so much in this that brought back memories. And I moved back to London in the early 90s. This documentary starts back in the mid 80s, I think, doesn't it? Through to the late 80s and then, into the 90s. And it is a story of UK post-punk dyke culture told by those who lived through it. I have a neighbour called Jo who was part of the Rebel Dykes movement. She wasn't actually in this film, but she knows Debbie Smith. Debbie Smith was in one of my favourite bands, Curve, back in the early 90s. And like I say, when I moved back to London, there was so much of this film that just brought back so many memories. The Bell in King's Cross, where I used to go. In fact, I think that was my first pub where I came out when I was new to the scene. So yeah, a lot of this was quite nostalgic for me as well.
For me, the documentaries have been standout at Flare. Really, they've made me laugh, made me cry. They've been amazing. And this is no exception. I mean, this was one of our faves, Phil. We were both really looking forward to seeing Rebel Dykes, and they did not disappoint at all. This is an amazing story about, I find it amazing, and it still happens within the queer community, these factions that are formed within groups and subgroups of our community, and what it means, and I just found this really refreshing. I thought the Rebel Dykes and the scene was just amazing. It was a massive F off.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved that. And it's interesting, we talked about polystyrene and X-ray specs recently in another review, and it had that post-punk movement of just like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to be constrained, even by people that are within my community. I'm not going to be constrained. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, because they were real individuals as well. They all had their strengths together. They were really passionate people as well. But obviously they were bonded by this family, this family that, they could all share that. They all had that in common. Although, they had different views. I mean, politically probably had very similar views. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. It's interestingly told. I thought it really kind of came alive on screen as well. The animation they used was brilliant. It was, quite playful. It had that real punk spirit as well, which I think, obviously you could tell that these people that were very passionate, they loved being part of this movement. And that whole reunion scene at the end as well, where they got together and had that party, and obviously they were older. But, these people that just bonded again, and, they had these memories. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. I am, Greenham Common and the movement around the Air Force Base is something that I remember when I was a youngster, but didn't have so much detail about it. So I found that really enlightening, the different gates at Greenham Common, and one of the gates were the separatists, one of the gates for kind of the Rebel Dykes, one of the gates with the musicians, and I thought it was incredible, really. I just thought it was just really, really enlightening and informative, and really filled in the gaps that I didn't have around that period of time. So for me, I just thought it was wonderful. And as you say, individuals, like real people, real individuals with a story to tell that was just riveting. I absolutely loved it.
And also, I'm sure you agree with this, quite a shocking reminder as well, in a lot of ways, that how violent and aggressive London was back in these times, late 80s. Some of the stories of aggression and these people that were, kind of punched and kicked and spat at, and all of that horrible stuff that you just remember London's been like a really vibrant and exciting place, but also it did have a dark side.
Well, I guess connected to that is this whole idea is one of the origin stories of butch and femme, and passing.
Yeah.
So you could get around, and you were less likely to be attacked. And people often, it's now kind of it feels different. And that language has morphed into something else and been transliterated into something else, but like it served a purpose, and so I totally agree. I mean, I just found it end to end really riveting, and in so many different ways. As I say, like educational, informative, funny, sad, everything. I mean, really beautifully put together.
The dark stuff, like I say, of how scary and aggressive London was back then. These people were like just punching their way through it and just fighting through that, that rubbish that came with that time. And also, you think about the 80s as well politically, and the way the country was run. It was a scary time. It was a really uncertain time. And I think, this just proves how much spirit people can have, that human spirit and that bond as well of just punching through all that stuff.
Of course. And then also, like, the moments where communities come together, there was a common enemy with Section 28 and how communities came together to fight that. So, a brilliant documentary, a brilliant, I think, time capsule of a story and a piece of our history that everyone should see. Absolutely amazing.
And also the recollection of that time with the BBC News, obviously famous. Everybody knows about that when Sue Lawley was broadcasting and they were under the desk, protesting.
I love the fact that BBC wouldn't give them that
I know.
message. It's just hilarious. But
Tells you everything you need to know.
Just genius, and how that was coupled with ACT UP and how people started to take these stands, direct action. Amazing, really. And again, the Sue Lawley moment is a part of my history from way back, but when you knit it into a timeline and a story, it becomes even more powerful.
It's funny because I remember seeing it on the news as, I don't know, a 15, 16-year-old at the time, and now when I think about it as an adult, as a queer adult, looking back, you realise how important these people were in paving the way for what we have now. I mean, so important for so many reasons, but absolutely brilliant.
Of course, always on the shoulders of giants, like 100%. We never forget that. So, no, brill, fab, amazing. Did not disappoint. A
really important, part of queer history, definitely. Fascinating. 4 stars for me.
This is going to blow your mind. I'm going to give it 5 stars.
Wow. Amazing.
Very rare from me, as you regular viewers will know.
Yeah.
For 5 stars.
That's great. I mean, I feel kind of compelled to do the same, but I know I'm going to stick with 4.
Don't be influenced by me, Phil.
I had a feeling you probably would deliver, though, that big 5-starer.
Yeah, loved it. Really loved it.
Brilliant. So if you want to check out the other coverage that we've done, there is quite a lot of stuff there. Check out the playlist that is on the screen now, and thank you very much for watching. As always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you've seen Rebel Dykes, if you're a part of the Rebel Dykes movement, we'd love to hear from you as well. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.